Greetings everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today here I'm going to talk about a bit of a topic, and the topic of this video is discussing around two games. I say two side games that's been released the past between those games about 5 years. About a good 5 to 4 to 3 years. Give or take, so 3 years. And two games I'm talking about are Resident Evil Resistance and R-Reverse. As of today's recording, today is July 8th. Which, everybody knows that R-Reverse is no longer functioning anymore and the servers are shut down. R-Resistance is still going. So I'm going to talk about both these games separately, and I'll put down in the link in the description going each game and my opinions of each game and how I feel about them. So let's start with Resistance. Resident Resistance, when they first ever showed a trailer of the game, a lot of people with Resident Resistance thinking that this is going to be an Outbreak game, and I thought it was too. I thought it would be like an Outbreak remake or some sort of a Resident Evil Outbreak kind of game, or maybe like a new take on the Outbreak series that's completely fresh and new. Because it takes place in Raccoon City. I was like, yeah, why not? But it's not the case at all. It is in fact a 5v1 or a 4v1 kind of game. Yeah, if you don't know what that kind of style of game, the 4v1, if you play games like Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, Predator, you know what you get yourself into. It's mostly around it's basically around Dead by Daylight, which basically a survivor and a killer. Survivor is, of course, your mission is to survive until the end, and the killer is their job to kill every single survivor to win. Well, not to kill everyone, but kill as much survivors as they can. So again, this game was Dead by Daylight at that time was very popular, and a lot of people seem to love it. So Capcom, being Capcom, they want a slice of the pie. So they decided to make a Resident Evil themed Dead by Daylight. And mind you, at that time, Dead by Daylight and Resident Evil didn't have any collabs at that time. But of course, as in the future, by this point, already been collabing with two collabs. One's Project W and the other is a Nemesis project. So both are, and a lot of characters from the Resident Evil series are in Dead by Daylight as we speak. So with that game's inclusion, a beta was released so people can see what the game is all about. And I'm not gonna lie, I played the beta because as someone who played Dead by Daylight and have the experience of playing Dead by Daylight, but by that time I've been playing the game for about a year. Say about a year. And I was pretty much very curious about the game. So I played the demo or the beta, and I am not gonna lie, the game was actually pretty good. It had potential, as the game is. It had potential. I thought the game would be good, and although the matchmaking was short, it always takes 5 minutes. But the beta was a success. Of course, the game will be out soon and everything. And then it turns out we found the news of this game. Instead of being a standalone title like I thought would be, it will come with Resident Evil 3 Remake. And we both know why this game came out with Resident Evil 3 Remake, because we know how Resident Evil 3 Remake is. That game is a one big pile of just a mess. It's not a big pile of dog shit, it's a mess. It's a mess of a game. But I was pretty much looking forward to playing it, and I'm playing it with a friend. And not gonna lie, the first month of the game was fun, and when everybody's on the same level, and a lot of the people who play this, Resident Evil Resistance, most of these people didn't even know about that kind of concept. They don't know how to play that game. And there's some, like me, who play Dead by Daylight or play these kind of games and have a bit of experience. So in the game, you play a bunch of characters, everyone with a set of skills, and you have to play any killer with a set amount of skills. And every single one of them, you know, and you have about 3, the rules is basically this, you have 3 stages. The first stage is basically pick up key items and putting it in next to, you know, put the puzzle pieces in the door. The second one is probably the same, the first 2 is pretty much the same thing. Now actually, the second one is actually getting a key card, if I remember correctly. And I think that's what it is. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. And the last one is basically you find these pods. You have to destroy 3 of them and then exit the place. So, and of course you run out of timer. The more damage you take, the timer gets down, and the more you take damage, you die. And of course, you know, you get rated and you get a lot of points. And one of the things about this game, and this is actually between both games, they're both online multiplayer. There's no single player mode. There's a training mode. There's a training mode for Resistance, and as well in Reverse. And with Resistance, there was originally supposed to be story campaign. I don't know how it should be, how it look like. Maybe it's very similar to Outbreak or something, but it's scrapped, which just sucks. I felt this game with the story mode had a little bit of substance. Unfortunately, it's not. So, oh well. So yeah, the main is an online game, and here's another thing about this game. This game is not sold separately. It's not sold by its own. You can't buy it. You must buy Resident Evil 3 to get Resistance. If you want to play Resistance, I mean, right now there's still people playing it, but it's mostly tryhards and sweats are playing the game right now. The rest are just basically just moved on from the game. That's another issue I find with the game. The balancing felt pretty bad. The moment Jill and Nikolai came in, the cracks start showing. People start, you know, abusing different strats. People are just basically killers that are impossible to deal with, and some killers play the game in such dirty tactics. It is so fucked. It is such it's so fucked. It's not fun. It wasn't fun. It was fucked, and you know, players will just go insane over. Oh, like a room is overpopulated with zombies, overpopulated with liquors, IVs, everything. So, and plus this is an action title, a survival horror title, and we have like Resident Evil 2 movement. It is hard. It is difficult, and of course you run on the killer's connection. So if the connection is ass, that means you get fucked. And some matches I get lagged out. Some matches I get, you know, I get shitty frame rates. Hit detections didn't hit. There's a lot of bullshit sections and a lot of bullshit parts of that game that really infuriates me. Thus lies the biggest issue. Capcom doesn't not have any long-term goals with games like this. What they could have done is add new stages, add new killers, add more survivors. You can add more things. Heck, you can add story mode. But Capcom didn't really care about that game. It had the lifespan of that game was pretty dang short. It at least is less than a year. The game literally died less than a year, and then as soon as time goes on, people didn't care about it, and people quietly move on from the game. The game, to be honest, had a lot of potential, but due to terrible balancing, you know, plugging and all that bullshit, and the game being popular with sweats and tryhards, the game just died. And I would much rather play Dead by Daylight than this crap, because normally I would love it, because I would rather play that, because if you asked me that question years ago, I'd rather play that than Dead by Daylight, because Dead by Daylight was a piece of crap, honestly. So, and I still don't like Dead by Daylight as much. So, yeah. Overall, at the end of the day, you had potential, but Capcom didn't see it, and people quietly moved on. Now, since we're done with Resistance, now here comes Resident Evil Reverse. And boy, if you thought Resident Resistance was bad, Reverse was it was way worse than I thought it would be. Way worse. Because here's the difference. You know, both games got a beta. And since, you know, Resistance is a Dead by Daylight clone, Reverse is more of a Fortnite clone. It's basically a versus mode to a separate game. And it's actually a much smaller side game. They just want a Battle Royale Fortnite-like game. Which sucked. And the thing about this game, the game was a flop from the get-go. The beta wasn't great. The game didn't even release, and guess what game comes with it? Is Resident Evil Village. If you play Resident Evil Village, you'll get this game with it. And you know, just like Resistance, you expect the game to come out immediately after the first year, right? Nope. The moment the game came out, Capcom, the game was basically just like it was gone. It wasn't there. The game was gone. It wasn't there. It was completely like unplayable. That's what happened. We waited and waited and waited until July. We found out that the game needed a bit more extra time to be released because they felt like they needed to balance out and patch out the game. And I was like, it's gonna take until the end of the year. We have to wait until the DLC of Rose's DLC, Shadows of Rose, to finally play the game. To tell you the time cap, I'm gonna put on the screen the time gap between between the release. This is the release of the game was on this date, and here is when the R-Reverse game was actually available to play. By this point, nobody cared. The hype behind Resistance was big. The hype behind Reverse was not even close. It was a bigger failure on Capcom. And once again, the same issues came from the other one. One, the game is not sold separately. You have to buy the main game with it, being an online multiplayer. So the same issues coming in. So what's the game mode was about? So basically it's a free-for-all game. The person with the highest points wins. The only thing that's good about this game is that when you die, you turn into a monster. If you have no capsules, you turn into a fat molded. You have one capsule, you turn into a much stronger enemy, which is either a Lycan, whether it is Jack Baker, and other characters. And then of course with the two, you either come Nemesis or Tyrant. So not a lot of enemy department. I wish there was more. And with the DLCs, they have more DLCs in this compared to the other one. But guess what the DLCs are? It's members of the Wolfhound Squad from the main RE Village. Characters that literally nobody asked for. Instead of having classic characters like Jill, no, Jill's in the game. Having classic characters like Leon, Ethan even. Since Ethan was like the main guy, you could have just have him in the game, but apparently you don't even have him in the game, which is weird. Which again, very weird. Like even Rose, or any character, instead you give us that crap, which really fucking sucks. And certain characters are broken in RE-verse. Leon, Chris, and Ada are the three most broken fucking characters in the whole game. They're all broken and ridiculous. Like Chris, you can make him to a legitimate tank, it takes like forever to die. Ada's crossbow is the highest damaging weapon in the entire fucking game, and Leon with his like dual handgun goes fucking ballistic. So yeah. The thing about this game's lifespan was non-existence. I'd say like Reverse was like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, or maybe a few months here and there, not even a full year. Resistance didn't even last. Resistance was just like a few days, even a few days or a week, and then nobody cares. No joke, nobody fucking cared about the game. Legit, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody. Everybody forgot about the game. Because guess what? When the game was out, people were just waiting for Resident Evil 4 Remake. RE4 Remake was literally around the fucking corner. Heck, you could have just done something amazing and give the RE4 Remake Leon outfit, maybe a village, maybe something like... You could just like make this game into something. And this game had microtransactions, Resident Evil Resistance had loot boxes. Resident Evil Reverse had battle passes. That's very similar to Fortnite. Like, that's one thing about these two games. But there's the thing about Reverse, you can play, if you have an RE, a Capcom account, you can play with other people, with other consoles. So that's cool. But again, all this wait for nothing. You could just add a team battle mode. Team battle mode is really not that hard to freaking program. You could have added a survival mode. Something like that keeps the game alive for a little bit longer. At least a year. This game didn't even last a fucking year. Like, you just notice these two games are failures. Like, what I could have done with Resistance is adding new maps with both games. New maps, new characters, keep updating the game to keep it fresh. And have, maybe another team to work on it. Like Neo Bars or someone else to work on the game and make the game, what it is. Make the game good. But just, again, they had no plans and didn't even give a fuck about the game. They didn't care about it, they didn't give a fuck about it, and that's why these two games failed. That's why our Reverse, literally the player count was super low that they have to shut down the server, and they shut down the server a few weeks ago now. A few weeks ago they shut down the server. Resistance is still going because there's some good players here and there, but Resistance it's literally nothing. It's a desert. It's a fucking desert. There's no one playing it because nobody cared. Nobody cared about it from the beginning. Nobody cared about it now. And this is supposed to be like a celebration of the 25 years of Resident Evil. That is a complete and utter fucking lie. It's mostly celebrating the RE engine. Because Capcom they do not give a fuck about anything from the original games. No original RE1 through 3, through 6. None of them. Any game that came out, before 7, we don't care. After 7, yeah, that's this legacy we gotta care about. We don't care about the old legacy, because during the past, we don't give a fuck. So, here's the thing. The only way to have a successful online multiplayer Resident Evil title at the moment that would work is a Outbreak. An Outbreak remake would be the only chance they can do it. That's the only online multiplayer Resident Evil title that would work and make it its own separate fucking game. Heck, it's not gonna have to be online multiplayer all the time. You can play it offline. That's the only online multiplayer Resident Evil title that I think is gonna work at this moment, as of right now. Till then, there's not gonna work. Because heck, you never had anything for Resident Evil 4 Remake. You don't have no side game because Resident Evil 4 Remake is an actual fucking full-fledged game. Well, a full-fledged game. It doesn't need any of that shit. It has everything. Everything you wanted for a remake. And for Resident Evil 4. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I'm done just raving about it and talk about these two games being a fucking failure. Both games are failures, and both of these are gimmicky fucking games. These games can burn in the rot of hell. Fuck these games. What's I have to say? Fuck these games. So what do you guys think? Do you think these games are good? Or these games are bad? Note down in the comments. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.